To Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by the Hard Truth Distilling Company in Brown County, Indiana.
So for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, it's time!
3 on the way. Oh! It went in! It went in! And Indiana wins the ball game!
Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni!
Float game for the win! Ayler's gone. Goodbye. Touchdown, Indy. Woo! IU. America. They got a football team now.
Pretty simple. I win. Google me.
You know that I'm the cream of the crop.
Now, from the Hard Truth Studios, here's Jim Coyle.
Hey, everybody. Welcome aboard. Glad to have you as always on this Wednesday. Big Wednesday. Some big doings going on as Indiana fans no longer have to wait. Indiana and Scott Dolson has made their decision on their new coach. Darian DeVries is Indiana's 31st men's basketball coach. He'll be formally introduced at a presser today. I'll be out there. Looking forward to talking to Rick Bozich about that today, as well as Kyle Neddenriep. And although it is semi-state weekend, and we'll get on that, but it's also, we'll talk about recruiting, how the state of recruiting and how Mr. DeVries will have to come in and hit the ground running, but that won't be a problem. It's a little bit different age now, but recruiting still a very, very important part of what goes on, but I don't think that's going to be an issue as Indiana pays big-time buyout to get Mr. DeVries in. He's betting on him to happen. I think they paid about a $6 million buyout alone just to get him, in addition to signing Darian DeVries to a 6-year deal. Lots of stories. What is his staff going to look like? Because currently there are 2 people on there of note, one of which, Tom Ostrom, a former top assistant to Archie Miller. I was a little surprised to see that, honestly. But one of the others, Corey Barnett, a name that should be familiar to Hoosier fans. We don't know who all or will be coming to Bloomington, as staffs oftentimes change. I would be a little surprised if Corey Barnett does not wind up in Bloomington. I would possibly be a little surprised if Tom Ostrom does end up in Bloomington. We shall see. We shall see. And Mr. DeVries is not coming empty-handed. He is bringing his son Tucker, who will be a player of note on next season's roster. He got hurt last year and was a very good player in the Big 12. So we'll talk about more on that. Trying to get our friend Todd Leary to join us today before we head out there. Appreciate everybody joining us, no matter where and how. If you're listening on one of our great radio station affiliates like 97.7 ESPN, The Ref, always the right call. 12:30 a.m., 104.7 FM, WJOB up in the region, the voice of the region, and on 1380 The Fan in Fort Wayne, Fort Wayne's only sports station. Just keep it locked right here all day for the best, latest in sports news and everything else. Sean says his son's video against Arizona is like a drug. We need that in our life. Oh man. Yeah, he's pretty good. He got hurt last year, Tucker. It's going to be interesting to see what the take by Indiana fans turns out to be, because as I said in the days leading up to it, it doesn't really matter who it winds up being, because there's going to be a faction that is not happy. And I don't know what else they could have done as far as on this hire. Now, if you're paring it down to him and Ben McCollum, well, he left Drake for Ben McCollum. So Drake was not exactly in the poorhouse. He had done a pretty good job of taking him to the NCAA tournament before moving on to West Virginia, where he inherited a last place Big 12 team that was expected to finish in last. But even though they had some late season injuries, they managed a great season and got screwed out of the NCAA tournament, which that still just bothers the crap out of me. I don't care what North Carolina did yesterday. I'm not even going to talk about them. The fact that Bubba Cunningham personally made money and for North Carolina making it into the tournament, and they absolutely did not deserve to make it in. I don't care if they win 5 games. It's not the point. They did not deserve to go in front of the other teams. But Buffalo Bill is not thrilled with the hire, but he says he'll give Coach D a chance, put a competitive team on the floor that has effort, hustle, and desire to win, and he'll catch on. And I think that's going to have to be the take for all Hoosier fans for a couple of reasons. A, the hire is made, people. It's done. It's not changing. Nothing you can say or do is going to change that. So instead of moaning and groaning, see what happens. Have some faith in the guy who hired Kurt Signetti for you. I think that no matter what, next fall, Indiana basketball fans are going to be a lot happier. They're going to enjoy a different brand. I really believe that. And I believe all you have to do is one thing. Just win, baby. Just win. And I think that they'll get that done. Some other roster spots, of course, Trent Sisley, and a relationship already of sorts with the Trent or the Sisley family, as when Darian DeVries was at Drake in the MVC. Blake Sisley, Trent Sisley's older brother, was playing for Evansville, and they played against each other, and his son Tucker had, and I believe had nothing but great things to say. So it's going to work out in that regard, but there's kind of a cool mix there with Trent Sisley's older brother playing against DeVries and his son, and now the younger brother and Tucker will be teammates and playing for DeVries. Things come around. Things happen like they're supposed to a lot of the times. Things work out how they're supposed to. You look at the Dusty May situation, and things kind of end up a lot of times in life. And when you look back, you're like, well, you know what? That kind of worked out the way it was supposed to. So we'll see how it goes. It's all we can do. But looking forward to meeting him today, talking to him, getting the feel. He signed a 6-year deal with Indiana. He's done a pretty daggone good job as coach overall. I had all of his all of his niceties pulled up. Here's what Athletics Director Scott Dolson had to say. We went into this coaching search with some very specific things we were looking for in our next head coach. And Darian emerged as someone who on paper met and often exceeded our criteria, Dolson said. Once we had a chance to talk to him, we knew he had the right person. Darian has a plan for building a championship culture that can compete at the highest level on a year in and year out basis. He has extensive D1 coaching experience that includes 15 trips to the NCAA tournament as a head or assistant coach. This past season at West Virginia, he inherited the last place Big 12 team, as I mentioned, with no significant contributors returning, and they managed to more than double their win total despite a pair of significant season-ending injuries. Finally, he is passionate about the opportunity to lead their program. We are excited to welcome Darian and the entire DeVries family to their Hoosier family. And according to Mr. DeVries, this is unquestionably one of the top jobs in America. As someone who grew up in the Midwest loving the game of basketball, I've always admired the IU basketball program for its championship level success, tradition, and fan support. There's a passion to succeed at a very high level, both within the Big Ten and the NCAA tournament, and that's a desire as a coach I share. On top of that, the alignment is there on a department and university level to make it happen. On top of that, there is an alignment to make all that happen. So he's excited, all of that. So there it is. That's the lay of the land. I'm going to take a quick break, and hopefully when we come back, Todd Leary will be with us. Appreciate you joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Hiring Wednesday from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios. We're back with more right after this message.
At Ben Davis Chevrolet and Ben Davis Ford in Auburn, we're your one-stop shop for all of your automotive needs. We have the area's best selection of over 300 vehicles, including new cars, trucks, vans, and SUVs. Plus a huge selection of pre-owned vehicles in stock. And if we don't have what you're looking for, we'll find it for you. We also have top-of-the-line service and parts, plus a collision repair center, and we're competitively priced on everything. For sales, service, collision, parts, and more, we do it all. Come see us today or visit us online at bendavischevrolet.com and bendavisford.com.
Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouthwatering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33, pizza, burgers, beer. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this Wednesday, joined now by the shot father, Todd Leary. And it finally happened a little sooner than some of us expected, but West Virginia not being getting screwed out of the NCAA tournament kind of sped that process up for the Hoosiers.
Yeah, I mean, it turned out to be what we all thought we were in the, fighting the same fight, being mad about not making the tournament. Turns out we probably just produced some more enemies because they seem – I'll tell you what's fun. They seem to be upset that they lost him, and that's a good sign because if they were happy they got rid of him, that would be – that'd be something we'd have to address. But no, it's a good situation. I think timing is – I don't think the timing could be any better. I think it's perfect.
Well, it is for a number of reasons, and great point, because it's like going to a restaurant that's empty. It's not a good sign.
right. Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, the timing, because although the portal does not officially open until Monday, for Indiana players, it is already open because of the coaching situation change that allows them to enter the portal. They don't even have to officially be in it. We've seen that Gabe Cupps intends, Malik Renew intends. So far, I think that's all I've seen thus far, which is actually another great sign, because normally it's a mass exodus. And that's not to say that there's not going to be more. There probably will be. But the fact that guys like Bryson Tucker, who was reportedly in the portal, but when it wasn't true, and he's like, no, I haven't done anything yet. Wise move. These guys are showing that they're sticking around to see what's going to happen.
Well, yeah, but I mean, and honestly, like I expect, and I don't have inside information. I think all of us as Indiana fans should expect almost everyone to enter the transfer portal. Look, it's like free agency in a pro sport, whether it's the NBA or NFL, major leagues, whatever it is. It's like the ability to have free agency every single year. And you just test the market and see where you're at. And there are going to be some guys who obviously wouldn't fit that mold and are comfortable where they're at, not going to make more money than the place they're already at. But at Indiana, like, given the coaching change especially, I think we would be, a little nuts to not expect all of these guys to enter the portal and at least see, if they have some value somewhere else, if there might be, something that looks more appealing to them. And so I don't read too much into I would expect, and I'll tell you this, I played with a bunch of guys that were diehard, loyal Indiana people. And I'm not even going to throw names out because I don't want to throw anybody under the bus or speak for other people. I'll just tell you, I know the guys that I play with well enough to know if we were in the situation that these guys are in today, a lot of guys would have put their name in the portal just to see what their value was and where they're at. And you talk about life-changing money. And so, I think they would almost be a little bit naive if they didn't put their name in the portal.
I think they'd be a lot naive. I agree with you 1,000%. It's just something you have to do. It's
sure.
You hate to say it,
it's
but
the new beast. They didn't create it.
It's a business decision.
It is. They're just a part of it. They didn't create this situation the way it is. This, model, the way that Steve Alford addressed it the other day. The model is a little nuts right now. But for these players that are there, you've got to take advantage of the model the way that it is. They didn't create it, but they have to address it the way that it sits right now.
Well, a lot of the buzz of late had been about Ben McCollum, the current Drake coach, ironically.
Sure, he's the hot guy right now, yeah.
Well, he replaced Darian DeVries, who was formerly a Drake and had a great run there before leaving for West Virginia for a single season. But I think that he did not leave the cupboard bare with going to the NCAA tournament 3 or 4 years, I think, at Drake. But there's something Scott Dolson saw in him as well, in addition to being able to get him now instead of waiting another week. That had to have played into it, because also he was not only high, he was probably number 1 on Iowa's list.
Yeah, I mean, like I know I'm pretty sure I said it on your show almost a year ago, but we didn't have the coaches opening the way that it is now. But I think a lot of people, were kind of 50-50 on whether they thought Mike Woodson would return last year or not. And I sat on my couch watching the conference tournaments last year, and I'm pretty sure I said it on your show, but I know I have witnesses of saying it, in that, man, we should go after that guy right now. Now, we didn't have an opening. And I know it was hard for us to talk about it at that point because the job wasn't open. And most you're almost insulting the current staff by talking about guys you should go hire. But I know I sat on my couch a year ago, watched them play, and said, that's it. That's the hot guy this year. That Darian DeVries is he's going to go make somebody pretty happy because I think with Butler and some Northwestern, some smaller schools where they're not going to be able to pay. They don't have the TV money. They can't pay the big dollars to a coach that that these bigger schools can, and that's probably why they're going to lose McCollum this year. Although if you listen to him talk, money is not the issue, and I don't think it's the issue with Coach DeVries either. But in this instance, I think the situation makes sense. What he did at West Virginia this year, I wanted to follow them and watch them a lot, but with the injury to his son, Tucker, I'll admit I didn't watch them very often. I wanted to watch him play. I wanted to watch him move up a level from Drake to West Virginia and play in that conference and see how he did. And with his injuries, he didn't play the last half of the year. And so, I'm assuming he's bringing him along with him.
I would imagine that's a package deal, baby.
We would assume so, but he's a great player, and
here's some irony. I mentioned this before you joined us, but you have a great relationship with the Sisley family. When his older brother Blake, when he was playing at Evansville in the MVC, played against Drake and DeVries and his son Tucker, and now
interesting.
The coach is going to be Trent's coach, and Tucker is going to be Trent's teammate. So little world comes full circle moment.
It really does. And I'll tell you, from a systems perspective, just on the outside of it, boy, does Trent Sisley fit the system of, he basically is Tucker DeVries, just in a different body. They play a pretty similar style. And yeah, I'm saying that also, and I'm going to admit, I'm not an expert on Tucker DeVries. I watched him play a lot, and I enjoyed watching him play on his team last year or 2 years ago at Drake. But I know he was a good player, and I know that system that they have. I feel like that system fits Trent Sisley, about as well as you could get a system to fit a kid coming in, and I think he will benefit from it a ton. And I think all things point towards the fit for this coach at this time at this university with the players that they have coming in. I'm assuming hopefully he brings some of the recruits he had. I know he had a high 4-star guard that he was supposedly bringing in, ranked right there with Trent Sisley. So boy, it would just be nice to have some building blocks and pieces that you've already got. I will say Coach DeVries' system a lot more than he fit Coach Woodson's system. So he might be a guy that
we missed. Who you said? Who was that?
Bryson Tucker, already at Indiana. His mid-range kind of game fits that system, I think, a little bit better than what it did in Coach Woodson's system. So
why is that?
He's a better mid-range shooter. I think the offense that Drake ran and the offense at West Virginia this year controls the pace a little bit more than just flying up and down the court. And I'll admit, I like the high, fast pace. The BYU, let's get it down and shoot as many threes as we can. Illinois, and that's not the system that Coach DeVries has had in the past. And so I don't expect that to be the one that's here. But I am just as excited, for being able to see, what he can do coming in here, rebuilding the culture and getting it back to where, we're complaining on, Sunday night, a selection Sunday, we're complaining about our seed and not whether we did or did not get in. And I think it will not be very long before we're back in that position.
Pecan Pies on the comment line says 2 of his 3 high school commits have now already decommitted. So there's part of your answer. I don't know that gives you all of the answer, of course, but I would not be surprised to see that. It's an opportunity to go to Indiana. It's a step up for everybody, all involved, the players including. The presser happens at 11:30 for those of you that Laurie just asked that question. And if you watched all of the Battle for Atlantis last year, you might have seen Tucker DeVries playing because he played a crucial role in the fact West Virginia beat Gonzaga, the team that beat the crap out of Indiana. And they ended up playing Louisville for the championship, I believe. Another team that beat the snot out of Indiana. So that's the basis. They started all had a great start. That was a last place team he inherited last year. So he has experience rebuilding a program in a P4 conference.
Yeah, and you know what? He has experience with the portal. He dealt with that last year. I know I read part of the comment from Scott Dolson, and they had certain criteria they wanted to meet, and I hope one of those was a little bit of at least experience, if not expertise, in dealing with the portal, because it's I don't know if it's here to stay, but it's here for a bit, and you're right. There's going to be some rebuilding, but let's not I'm not acting like that's an Indiana problem. That's a NCAA all college basketball problem. We're going to see teams that had a very successful year this year that made the NCAA tournament that have players that hit the portal. It's going to happen at almost every school. And so, I do think that's one of the criteria that needs to be, you need to be a little bit experienced in. And thankfully he is. I mean, I think we are, as Indiana University, better off getting Coach DeVries the year after he had the experience of moving from Drake to West Virginia, because it's not quite the step from West Virginia to Indiana that it was from Drake to West Virginia, but it's a step. It's a big step. And you're now at a blue blood basketball school. And if anyone wants to argue that Indiana's a blue blood, that's fine. I'm not going to have that argument. I don't care whether you think they are
exactly.
or aren't. They have all the resources possible. They have everything that you could possibly need to win. And that pretty much makes them a blue blood. So that's if that's not the definition of blue blood, then you come up with your own definition of it. But he's got the resources that he's going to need to build a roster, and he built a roster last year that was successful in their league. I think he's only going to have more opportunities to be successful here, and that's an exciting thing. I think that had to be probably a big reason why. I saw Coach McDermott from Creighton's comment, it comes from that coaching tree. And I heard his comment of saying, welcome to the pressure cooker now, because you're at a place that it's basketball 24/7. And I love Coach Signetti, and I love the football program, and I love all that. I hope he proves me dead wrong in this down the road, but Indiana's a basketball school. And I hope we win the football national championship every year. But if we won it 10 years in a row, I still think we're going to be a basketball school. And that's the pressure cooker that you're in now at Indiana. And as a competitive basketball dude, I tweeted out last night, we got a basketball dude. We got a guy that's here to work. He's here it's basketball. He eats, sleeps, and breathes basketball. And that's what, a lot of us as young kids did growing up in the state of Indiana. And I think we've got a eat, sleep, and drinker of basketball right now.
Yeah, and you mentioned that experience of moving to West Virginia and getting a big, healthy dose of having to build a program now on the fly with portal, with everything else that you have to do. That was not a knock, but a question about Ben McCollum. And so that could have been one of the things that separated these two guys in Scottsdale.
And for sure. And you look at it, of course, Ben McCollum's name, he is the hot button right now. He is their team is, when you get Clark Kellogg and Seth Davis and all of those guys, sitting up there on Selection Sunday, when they're mentioning your team and how impressive your team is to watch, and that they think your team probably has a great chance of winning their, not just their first round, but maybe making it to the Sweet 16. Of course, he's going to be the hot name that's out there right now. A year ago, that name was Coach DeVries. And so, he's got that one extra year of experience. And yes, he's got that one extra year of doing the thing he's going to have to do again. And that's move to a new town and reestablish himself and meet all the people you've got to meet and that have the money and pay for your NIL and do all those things. And he's got facilities. I don't know what West Virginia's facilities are, but I'm assuming he's going to be somewhat impressed with Indiana's facilities. And if not, hey, just tell the boosters what we need, and I'm sure we'll probably get it.
Mark says he promises to give any new coach 3 years, and you know what? I think that's fine. 3 years, 4, you don't need 4. But anyway, he says Tucker can flat out play. Watched him at Drake keep the Sycamores from the tournament. So yeah, it's great to have that piece coming in. Luke Goody will probably be coming back. I think that he gets his medical red shirt, and I say that because it's always great to have an experienced guy like that on your bench, no matter where he is, that in your fold. And you have Trent Sisley coming in, and then if they ends up keeping any of the guys off of Indiana, which that would not be more than Bryson Tucker, I would imagine. I can't think of anybody else that's left that either hasn't intended to hit the portal, because you had 5 or 6 guys that left, and then the rest to be filled in. But that won't be as difficult at Indiana when he opens that bag up and says, oh hell, I could go get some players, baby.
For sure. And you know what? Like, I mean, let's just call it the way that it is. I mean, I've talked about it, so I'll be on here saying, if it were me this morning at 8 a.m., I'd have been sitting at Braylon Mullins' house seeing if he needed a ride to school. You know, I mean, you just, you know what? That's what happened. See,
that's great thinking.
That's what happened last year with Liam McNeely.
Liam McNeely.
You know, he was at Indiana. You know, it's not dirty pool. It's not, you know, doing underhanded stuff. Like, that's the business. That's the way that it is. It is a business. And Braylon Mullins made a decision, and he might be perfectly happy with where he's at. I don't know. He may just absolutely have fallen in love with UConn, and that's where he's going no matter what. Die on the you know, he's going to UConn for sure. But you know what? I'd find out, and I'd be put myself in a position to where you know, if I'd be turning over every stone. And so the one thing that we know is, the one thing that I have heard from everyone that has ever worked with, talked to, or knows anything about Coach DeVries is that he's a hard worker. And man, I tell you, that washes away a lot of you know, maybe things that you think he might not be as good at, or whatever it might be. Like, if he's a hard worker, that's all we really need to know. The very first thing that you will hear out of Scott Dolson's mouth, if you ask him about Coach Signetti, is he's the hardest worker I've ever seen. He is not going to get outworked. And I feel like right now, you know, Scott Dolson has put 2 guys in 2 very important positions at this university in the athletic department that are hard workers. And I, you know, I think that's going to be a new thing that hasn't been the case over the past few years at Indiana. And I'm excited about the fact that we got a guy that I think is excited about being here. And you know, I used to say it all the time about players. All players fall into 2 categories. There's a lot of other categories, but they fall into 2 categories. And one is they're either very happy and excited to be at the university, feel lucky that they are going to that university, or the university is lucky to have them. And I feel like we're in a position where we have a guy at coach now that feels like he is happy and very thankful to be at this university, and not vice versa.
Yeah, kind of a match between Signetti on football and basketball, guys that are working, that are in the locker rooms, that are in there past when the games are well passed over. Todd Leary, the shot father, with us, talking about Darian DeVries and Indiana's brand new coach, the 31st coach in Indiana history. That's another. Can you imagine that fraternity, as old as 125, 30 years of Indiana basketball? There's only been 31 guys. You could put them in a little classroom together and they could have a conversation about all the travails. I'm sure Bob Knight would be leading that one. All right, this is how this one's going to go. We got to take a break. We've got the great Todd Leary with us from myjumpshot.com. Don't forget, if you have a son, daughter, nephew, niece, it doesn't matter. It's friends, kid, neighbors, anybody, great gift. Go to myjumpshot.com. Help them out with their basketball fundamentals. We're back with more with Todd Leary right after these messages. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. Ugly Grouper, located on beautiful Anna Marie in Florida, is the place to be, and not just because they have unforgettable meals, including locally sourced seafood. The Ugly Grouper has your favorite craft beers and cocktails, along with live music every day. The Ugly Grouper is family-friendly, able to host private parties, and has the biggest grouper you've ever seen. The Ugly Grouper is the place to be on Anna Marie Island, Florida. Tell them Indiana Sports Beat sent you. Go to theuglygrouper.com for more information. When it comes to apparel and promotions, Freethink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. Freethink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. Freethink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what Freethink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com.
At Ben Davis Chevrolet and Ben Davis Ford in Auburn, we're your one-stop shop for all of your automotive needs. We have the area's best selection of over 300 vehicles, including new cars, trucks, vans, and SUVs. Plus a huge selection of pre-owned vehicles in stock. And if we don't have what you're looking for, we'll find it for you. We also have top-of-the-line service and parts, plus a collision repair center, and we're competitively priced on everything. For sales, service, collision, parts, and more, we do it all. Come see us today or visit us online at BenDavisChevrolet.com and BenDavisFord.com.
Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios. And the Hard Truth is Indiana has a brand new basketball coach and new hope amongst a lot of Indiana fans. I'm sure it's not all of them because I talked a lot about Todd. It didn't matter who it ended up being at this point. There was going to be a faction that, I'm like, I don't know what else people really could have expected at this point. Dustin A was not coming. They missed the boat on him. He didn't sign the extension because for no other reason that I think he felt loyal to Michigan, who gave him the opportunity last year. And this is not a knock on Indiana, although maybe it is. Indiana had their chance.
Sure.
Michigan took their shot. He felt loyal to them. He's a loyal guy. So you can't blame him. He wasn't coming to Indiana. Brad Stevens was never coming to Indiana. The only other one that would stand out is the Chris Beard situation. I knew that was never going to happen. It wasn't. And people, it's just going to have to get past that. There's more to it than just simplicity. So, I mean, it's not for me to tell anybody how to feel. But I'm like, man, I just think people take a chill. I think that the basketball program is already better off.
Hey, you know, Coach Knight said some crazy things over the years, but one of the things that he said is opinions are like butts. Everybody has one. Yeah. And you're not going to make everyone happy. And I will say this. Let's just let the situation work itself out. Some people, and this is what you love about Indiana basketball, people had some very, very strong opinions of who they wanted and why they wanted them. And that's great. That's awesome. I did too. And, you know, I've been saying on your show, I thought Chris Beard would be a great fit for years. And I don't share that same opinion with you that I don't think it was ever going to happen. and you might be right. I might be right. I don't know. I don't care. It doesn't matter at this point. Look, I don't think that there is any I don't think that there's any question that Coach DeVries is a basketball guy, and that's what we want running our basketball program. And so, you know, I'm sure. Look, I am on text chains with different former player groups, and some people liked it, some people didn't like it, or whatever. But we're all kind of basketball dudes, and we all kind of say the same thing. Look, basketball wise, I mean, I think we're going to win. It might not be the style that everyone loves. It may be the style everyone loves. I don't know. I know he comes in and his, I would say if you ask the average person about his style of basketball, it's more defense oriented. It's a little slower paced, and they control the game. And I think if you asked people about Coach Knight, I think they would give you a very, very similar description of his style of play. Now, he recruited players that were very offensively efficient, I'll say.
And we lost Todd for just a second. I bet he comes right back, though, because he's magical with one of those great Bob Knight stories. We'll wait till he unfreezes. But Indiana now set to make the official announcement today. Darian DeVries as its 31st basketball coach, and hopefully a new era for Hoosier athletics. Because if they can get basketball going, man, that is going to be huge for the IU athletics department, because Kurt Cignetti has obviously shown he can get the football program going. He's got it going right now. Basketball up next. How quickly can that happen? Well, expectations are going to be high without no doubt. But I would hope that fans don't go hog wild crazy in the first season. But I think that you should expect winning without question. Todd Leary back with us. Todd, I was just saying that expectations are, I know there are going to be expectations, but I hope fans don't go too crazy with first season expectations, although I would imagine Indiana playing very competitive, tough, and winning basketball next year.
Yeah, I mean, my expectations are high. I'm not giving them like a 3-year window or any of that. Pretty early, pretty consistently. And I don't know where I got cut off or where I lost service there, but what I was saying before, Coach DeVries, if you described the way I would, as little as I've seen of them, the way I would describe him is that he runs an offense that is defense oriented, or he runs a system that's defense oriented, maybe a little slower pace than the average, but they're efficient, and I think that if you took a poll of the description of Coach Knight's teams, I think.
Oh, man, we're having some connection issues with Todd, but we are grateful that he took the unexpected opportunity to join us. There you go. He's back again. Yeah, we lost him, but he'll be back here soon. What are your thoughts from a fan standpoint? His name is pronounced Darren. Thank you, Carl. Been trying to figure that one out until they get in there, but yes. At least he doesn't have a J in his name. The J is silent. Just kidding. Andrew says, here come the hopelessly negative chatters. Well, what are your thoughts out there? Wherever you are. My thought is always, I was not involved in the search. There are things that I don't know. I don't know what I don't know. And I'm aware of that. So I think that Scott Dolson knows what he needed to do. He had the tools to do it. And he went out and made a decision that he felt was best for the Indiana men's basketball team. John thinks that this is making Indiana more mediocre. Well, I would ask anybody that has that opinion, what what else could they have done? I would only imagine that response, and I'm just assuming, would be Chris Beard. And you don't know that. We don't know. I mean, he seems like a perfect fit. I'm the first one to say it. Boy, he seems like he'd be successful, but there's no reason to think that Darian DeVries is not going to be successful. He has been successful already. He hasn't been to a Final Four. That's one thing he doesn't have, but I don't think he's been coaching quite as long. So we'll find out, and you're going to find out quick, and the fans are not going to hold back. Hell, they're not holding back now. It'll be interesting to see what he pulls in and what kind of team he puts together, what kind of team he's able to put together with the resources he will have. He's already had 2 commitments from West Virginia decommit. I'm not saying that both of them would come to Indiana. I'm not saying either would. I will say it's likely one of them would if they have the opportunity. And I don't see why they wouldn't, because if DeVries thought that they were good enough for him to play next season at West Virginia, he'll think the same in Indiana. He's going to have some holes to fill on the roster, without question. But there's going to be plenty of people out there to fill it. I hate the 1 year. It's the teams that are just 1-year teams. And a lot of them are like that. Now, it's virtually everywhere because of the transfer portal. We all hate it. But we can moan and groan about it or deal with it. Hopefully Todd can jump back on with us here before the end of the segment. If not, we've got more to get through today. Plenty. As Darian DeVries has been named Indiana's basketball coach, I'm wondering how much the portal played in to making this hire now instead of, say, waiting for a Ben McCollum. Because that would not happen until they finish playing, which could be, today's Wednesday, could be tomorrow, could be Friday, could be Saturday, could be Sunday, could be the following week. And I think Scott wanted to get on it obviously as quickly as possible. I don't know how much that would really deter putting a roster together, though, because plenty of guys, most people, no one is in the portal yet except for guys that have lost their coaches. So it looks like he got hired a lot on his own merits as well. Kind of a late name that popped up, but I think part of that is because West Virginia got screwed out of making it into the NCAA tournament by Bubba Cunningham and his buddies, his cohorts. Bubba Cunningham. Did I say that again? Bubba Cunningham, University of North Carolina's athletic director, who profited personally $70,000 by getting North Carolina into the NCAA tournament. Yeah, North Carolina's great. 18 years of academic fraud. That an AD who shoehorns a team into the NCAA tournament that was probably 4 spots below teams that should have been in. Oh, well. It's going to be interesting to see who is on his staff. I mentioned that earlier. Corey Barnett. I'd be surprised if he does not come. I mean, how many opportunities does a coach get in his life, in his career, to go home? He's from Indiana. He played in Indiana. He was on the team with Jordan Halls. So it's going to be interesting. The relationship that I mentioned that's already there with the Sisleys, that will help things just for a smooth transition. the fact that Bryson Tucker made the point to not enter the portal yet, whether he stays or does not stay, that is a great sign. And it's actually mature, especially from someone who would seem like I think he shut himself down at the end of the year, or he may have gotten shut down, but there was, some chatter between his dad and I don't think that they liked what was going on. And if anybody was going to hightail it out first, that's who you would have expected it to be. The fact that he hasn't been shows some maturity to me, wise decision making, and I think it's some respect for Scott Dolson, who has reached out to these guys and said, hey, we'd love for you to give us the opportunity to let you see who the new coach is going to be. I know he has been in contact with the recruits like Zerno and Trent Sisley, just asking for their patience. Well, that patience has been rewarded, I guess you'd say. I can't speak for Trent Sisley. I'm going to imagine he's pretty happy with the hire. As you heard Todd talk about, that this is the perfect place offense system for him, for his game. And that is true. And that's great for DeVries to come in and have one of those waiting for him. To have his son coming in. You already have some little pieces without even having added anything. That is a load off of what he's going to have to do. How about recruiting the state of Indiana? That's going to be an important part. Recruiting is not the same as it used to be with the transfer portal. We all know that, but it is still important. There are going to be one and dones. And yes, you do need them. For those of you who want to go back to 1985, not going to happen. If you can get a one and done, get his ass. He's one and done because he's a talented fool. Are you going to tell me you would not want a Cooper Flagg on your program? Do you think Cooper Flagg is going to be playing college basketball next year? No. Yes, you would want him on your team. You wouldn't want a guy like Kasparas Jokashanis. Yes, you would. You wouldn't want a guy like, well, Danny Wolf is not a freshman, but hey, let's take a break. Kyle Neddenriep up next. We're going to talk about recruiting. We'll throw in some semi-state action as well. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this break. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive.
If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemoreSells@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today.
Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouthwatering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33, pizza, burgers, beer. Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue, and you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company Studios. Up next, Kyle Neddenriep will be joining us. We're going to talk about recruiting and the importance as Indiana has a new basketball coach, and they have been pretty hit and miss on the recruiting side of things over the last couple of years, and I think that there are multiple opinions on why that has been, but I think that the biggest part of that has not been the ability to hit it. Kyle Neddenriep from the Indy Star joining us now, and Kyle, I know we'll get to the semi-state because that's a big deal going on this weekend. Of course, Indiana just named their 31st basketball coach. And I was talking about the importance of recruiting. While it's different now with the transfer portal in the state of Indiana, it is still of great importance because year in, year out, you're going to have a Braylon Mullins, a Trent Sisley, a Flory Badunga, whomever. There's going to be these guys, Braden Smith. We can go on down the line. Purdue has a roster full of them. There are plenty of guys that you're going to want because it has to be a mix of 3-4-year guys. Like I consider Trent Sisley a 3-4-year solid guy that you're going to love having. And then there's going to be Liam McNeely's and those guys that you mix in. Regardless of that, recruiting the state of Indiana and recruiting them the way they need to be recruited is very important. Hence why Braylon Mullins is not in state, etc.
It is. I mean, and you're right. It's changed dramatically, even in the last few years, obviously, and the importance and probably the overall interest in high school recruiting is waned because of all that. You know, the portal comes first now, but you know, DeVries. You know, it is interesting because you think back to the success he had at Drake, which was you know, they were completely off the radar. You know, not good for many years. You know, I went to Missouri Valley Conference School. They were always in the playing. There was a 10-team Arch Madness. They were always in the playing game almost every single year. He turned that program into, you know, something really good, obviously. And he did it with some Indiana guys. You know, I don't know if people remember, you know, DJ Wilkins played at Maryville High School. Tremel Murphy played at Griffith High School. He had some Indiana influence on his team. I'm not saying that's the be all end all, or he's, you know, fully aware of high school basketball recruiting in Indiana by any means. But it is interesting to me. He did have, you know, those teams had an Indiana presence on there, so he is familiar, I think, with, you know, Indiana high school basketball and that sort of thing. So I think, you know, there is some familiarity there. I beyond recruiting, I told Zach Osterman when it first started, this would be my pick, you know, of the realistic choices. Sorry, Joe. I think you muted yourself. Jim, are you on mute there?
I sure was. Thank you. Boy, I apologize. Why was that he was someone that stood out for you?
I would say because just because of what I just said about Drake and I know it's a totally different level, in NIL and portal things have changed the landscape, but just being familiar with where Drake was, and I never thought that was a program that would be, and McCollum has obviously kept it going to the high level, but man, I mean, they were nothing, and the fact that he's learned under McDermott at Creighton, I like that too. I like the way Creighton plays. It's a modern. They shoot the heck out of it. Every single year they're one of the best offensive teams in the country. Creighton is. So I think there's some of that. Some of that. They may not play exactly like Creighton, but I think there's some of that influence as well. I just see him as a program builder, and I think that's what IU needs right now. And obviously, the you're not going to turn Brad Stevens being my number one pick if I was choosing, but of the choices that seemed like realistic hires, I thought he would be right there at the top of the list. And he's of the age. What is he? 49. I think he's at a good age where he has experience, but still has some good years ahead of him. So I don't know. It just seemed like it just seems like a really good fit to me. Fit's kind of the all-encompassing generic word, but I liked all of what he brought to the table. The one thing you didn't know is, being 1 year at West Virginia, how that was going to play into it. But yeah, I mean, I like this hire.
Yeah, and obviously Trent Sisley liked it. He sent out a tweet yesterday that said, "Let's work." But there was a relationship. I mentioned this earlier. His brother Blake, who played at Evansville when DeVries was coaching at Drake, they played against each other, and he played against his son Tucker, who will be coming to Indiana and who is a very, very good ball player.
Yeah, you mentioned Tucker too, because he was a big part of that success at Drake as well. But yeah, I mean, obviously there's a relationship there. I think Trent would have been, it would have to be a pretty, I think he was in on IU.
Yes,
he's going to give IU a run no matter what. But it's good that he's excited about it, and I can't wait he's going to be up here playing in a couple weeks, and looking forward to that too. So, but yeah, it's I think Trent, being on board, and he'll definitely be a guy who will be out, front and center, and and I think people like Trent Sisley and like what he's about, and I think we'll like him as a player. Might be more importantly than anything. So yeah, I think that's a good start, I'd say, to the relationship.
You mentioned the Chipotle Nationals coming up soon in April at Hamilton Southeastern High School, and Montverde and Trent Sisley will be in attendance for that. So great for Trent's career to get the end in Indiana, even though he didn't get to play his senior year here. The semi-state coming up this weekend. Lots of big games on tap.
Yeah, we'll have it's that new format where it's a little bit different than it used to be. The regional and the semi-state kind of flipped positions, if you will, and the semi-state now is a 4-team runoff, and the winner.
Let me say that I hate it from the standpoint of the teams that make the semi-state championship game, I guess you'd call it. That's actually the Final Four. I would be so mad if I got robbed out of if you lose in that game. But we made it to the Final Four, man. But you don't get to really say that. You can say it, but it doesn't carry the same deal.
No, it feels more like it feels, I don't know what it feels. It feels like a regional final, it feels like a Sweet 16 to the Elite 8 type of game, but then you only have one game after that. So, but yeah, it's different. It's I don't know if I like it. I put out a poll actually last week, and you know how it is on social media. A lot of it's negative, but I think it was like 79% preferred the old way, and there was a lot of votes, like over 2,000 votes, I think, or something like that. So, but yeah,
I'm in that camp, baby. I'm in that camp.
So I mean, it'll be a great day. I mean, I'll be at for the third year in a row that they've done this. They put 4A at Newcastle, which kind of doesn't sit well with the Jeffersonville crowd,
as it shouldn't. That's another thing. They're screwing up.
It also doesn't sit well, and I don't know if it Fishers has to go to Elkhart, and that's the haul. Wapahani has to go to Michigan City. That's the farthest trip of any of the teams. So it's not just Jeffersonville, but it is a trip. But also, I will say, if you're going to do it this way and you're going to use the biggest gyms, if you're going to use Newcastle, it's not going to fit. It's not going to fit with anything. So you either use these gyms or you do something completely, kind of change the format of everything, because it's just not going to work. Newcastle's located in a spot where it's just not going to be, just geography wise, it's not going to work for everybody. So, I'd say, in my opinion, enjoy the fact that you're here, make it into an event, trip, and, raise some money. And, I know that's easy thing to say, but I just, if this is the way it's going to be, that's how it's going to be. But I would say the best game of the day, in my opinion, will be the Jeffersonville Mount Vernon game, at least of the early games. I think that Mount Vernon team with Luke Ertl is super confident, playing their best basketball. They're spreading the floor. They're going to give Jeffersonville everything they've got, and I think it'll be a really good game. The Jeff team, I would probably favor them to win that semi-state, but it's not going to be easy. And if we do see a Jeff Fisher's championship game, I think that would be fantastic. But I'm not putting anything past Mount Vernon right now, because they have anytime you have a point guard who's playing the way Luke Ertl's playing right now, you've got a shot, and he's playing phenomenal basketball right now. So I think that'll be a fantastic game. And then the other game, Terre North is sort of the upstart there, and they'll play Lawrence North in the first game. I'm not putting anything past Terre North either, but that would be an upset if they could beat Lawrence North. Lawrence North, they're a team that they don't shoot it great from the perimeter, but everything else they do really well. They attack the glass. Xavier Robinson will defend like crazy, and he can score a lot of points, obviously. So, LN versus, assuming LN wins that game, LN versus Mount Vernon or Jeff, I think will be a phenomenal game at night too. So, but yeah, there's some really good. Probably the best, maybe the best overall bracket would be at Southport, where you have the 3A game, the 3A semi-state with Princeton versus Addicts, and then New Pal versus Brownstown Central. That'll be phenomenal as well. So I think that's flipped around. Brownstown Central, New Pal's at 10, and then Princeton Addicts at noon. So those will be two fantastic games as
well. With the coaching change at Indiana, Todd brought this up, said the first thing he would do when he got to Bloomington was turn around and drive to Indianapolis, or actually Greenfield, wherever, and would be knocking on Braylon Mullen's door and see if he needed a ride to school. And I'm like, that is smart thinking, because they're still can be recruited. And you wonder with the coaching change, because I know that had a lot to do with the decision that Braylon made. I'm not taking anything away from UConn. My God, they were a 2-time defending national champion. But the pull to Indiana had to have been strong, but it not strong enough. I wonder if there's a possibility that that he would give Indiana another look.
I mean, I would think that ship has sailed for 1 year at least. I mean, who knows what can happen, with the portal the way it is. Who knows what can happen in the future. I'll say that. But, I think that's probably, for at least for 1 year, that's probably, where he's going to be going. But yeah, I mean, obviously you'd take him if he wanted to come back to IU for sure. And they were, definitely in the mix there. And UConn just recruited him a little bit better than I did, in his opinion.
Oh, man. So you've got a big weekend ahead of you. Where did you say you were going to be?
I'll be over in Newcastle. I wish I could be more places than one, including Southport. Yeah. That'll be awesome. But yeah, I'll be at I will be watching Jeff and Mount Vernon and Ellen and Terre North play in the early games. Then, depending on who wins, I'm sure I'll probably end up staying there. But if certain things happen, I might end up going to Southport. But I'll probably stay there.
Kyle, we appreciate you, my friend. Enjoy it. Don't work too hard.
All right. Appreciate you, Jim. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Kyle Neddenriep from the Indy Star joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Hey, up next, we've got a twofer. We've got Rick Bozich from WDRB.com joining us, and he's got his partner in crime, Eric Crawford, as they're heading off to the Pressers in Lexington, Kentucky for the NCAA tournament. We're back with more from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios right after these messages.
Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue, and you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. Ugly Grouper, located on beautiful Anna Marie Island, Florida, is the place to be, and not just because they have unforgettable meals, including locally sourced seafood. The Ugly Grouper has your favorite craft beers and cocktails, along with live music every day. The Ugly Grouper is family-friendly, able to host private parties, and has the biggest grouper you've ever seen. The Ugly Grouper is the place to be on Anna Marie Island, Florida. Tell them Indiana Sports Beat sent you. Go to theuglygrouper.com for more information. When it comes to apparel and promotions, Freethink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. Freethink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. Freethink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what Freethink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this day. And Rick Bozich joining us now from the road, along with Eric Crawford, both two of the renowned writers in the country. So we're very fortunate. We're getting a twofer today. Thanks a lot, Eric, for chauffeur. I assume Eric's driving, right?
No, Rick's driving, buddy. I'm multi.
Well, I thought that it looked that way, but I thought it may be backwards. So you usually always make Eric do the work.
Good observation. There we go. Let's keep that. That's off the record.
Yeah. Well, it came a little sooner than a lot of us thought. I think that Bubba Cunningham helped that situation out a lot by screwing West Virginia over and keeping them out of the NCAA tournament and collecting his bonus check that he'll get from North Carolina for getting his team in. But and that worked out in the best interest of Indiana, and a hire that a lot of people may not have seen coming. His name really started popping the last few days, and boy, it happened, and it's over.
Yeah, it's an interesting choice, a surprising choice. It'll be one that's debated. I think you can look at his record and find whatever you want to find. If you can find the fact that he achieved big things at Drayton. I checked one thing last night and saw that from 1971 to 2021, they'd made the NCAA tournament one time, and he did 3 times in 6 years. So that's a good sign. But on the other side, it's a coach that really hasn't proven it on the Power 5 level, and a lot of schools go into these coaching searches looking for the quote home run hire, and I think it's another example of the home run hires don't happen anymore. Guys don't leave really good jobs to go somewhere else. So, I think he's got a chance to do a good job. He's obviously very ambitious if he's willing to leave West Virginia after one season and come to Indiana. What do you think, Eric?
I think the fact that he has that 1 year in the Big 12 is big. I mean, if you're looking at guys and what they've done, I think if you look at this year for West Virginia, it was better than it looked He goes in his first year. They weren't expected to be really contending for anything, and they should have made the tournament. So that's a big endorsement for what he can do at this level. His son, obviously, if they get that worked out and he comes, that's big. And, I think we've seen at Louisville, there wasn't a ton of buzz around Pat Kelsey, but he came in with a plan. He came in with a couple of his guys from Charleston. He brought a staff, and he had a plan. And really, that's what, if you have a guy that's got a plan that knows what he wants to do, that's a big thing right now. Because in case of Louisville, in case of Indiana, you don't always know what the plan was, and hopefully the new guy has one.
Yeah, and they ironically are both in similar situations now, Rick, with young up-and-coming coaches in Pat Kelsey, who knocked it out of the park and ended up meeting Darian DeVries last year down in Atlantis. So that is a little crossover there and interesting. And then I mentioned crossover earlier. Trent Sisley, his brother Blake, played for Evansville and played against DeVries when he was at Drake, and his son Tucker. So we got that going. I think Tucker is coming to Indiana. I think I've already seen that. But was there something as far as a reason he couldn't have come, Eric?
No, I just think it was his injury.
He's got to get the medical waiver. I'll say this. I went back actually in early January at WDRB. I did a story where I ranked the 15 coaches at the power conference level who were in their first season on the job and who was doing the best jobs. And I looked at it last night, and this is way before obviously any idea that DeVries might be an Indiana candidate. And I had Dusty May number 1, Pat Kelsey number 2, and I had Darian DeVries number 3. And he had done, he beat Arizona and he beat Gonzaga when he was down in the Bahamas, and he won his opening game in the Big 12 on the road at Allen Fieldhouse. And he improved West Virginia this year. They were the worst team in the Big 12 last year. They won 9 games. This year he won 19 games and would have won more because they played without their best player for but 8 games. So he did a very solid job. And we're almost to Rupp Arena here, and Louisville plays Creighton, and Creighton's coached by Greg McDermott, and that's Darian DeVries' mentor. So that's one thing we want to talk to him about is Darian DeVries.
And well, I really talked with you earlier, and he said that apparently Greg sent out a post or something that said, "Welcome to the pressure cooker."
He was on Jeff Goodman's podcast. I think he called it a home grand slam or a home run hire or something. So the thing that's obvious about DeVries is he looks like he's a grinder, a really hard worker, a guy who's super competitive. And the fact that he was willing to leave West Virginia after 1 year to go to Indiana, because in his mind, you can achieve at a higher level at Indiana. You have greater resources, NIL resources, overall basketball budget than you do in West Virginia. That speaks to, what kind of ambitions and what kind of aspirations he has for his career.
Yeah, I love that word grinder, because that is not how I would describe the prior regime. But that aside, Brian Evans, some comments. Mike DeCourcy did a piece the other day, and I saw some comments from Brian, who talked about Kurt Cignetti, and it's like, I don't know it, but it seems like this guy never sleeps. He goes, I'd like to have somewhat of a similar feeling with the IU basketball coach. So I think that they definitely have that now, a guy who lives, breathes, and sleeps his job, which is what the successful guys have to do. Well, I think that as long as both of you guys have been around all these coaches, Pitino and going way back, Pitino still grinds. That's why he's still successful as hell. But you have to grind it.
I'll say it this way. I don't think it would be considered an inconvenience for Darian DeVries to drive to Greenfield Central or Heritage Hills to watch a high school basketball game.
Todd Leary also suggested that the first thing he should do is to drive to Braylon Mullen's home and see if he needed a ride to school.
I don't think Braylon Mullins will break his commitment to UConn, but it wouldn't hurt to talk to him in case a year from now he wants to consider transferring.
Absolutely. You guys are you got your pressers coming up for the NCAA tournament. Louisville taking place down in Lexington, ironically. Which how has that worked out for the Cardinals in the past?
I remember one year they lost to Billy Gillespie here, didn't they?
They lost to Billy Gillespie here. They came through here in 2013, I believe.
Yeah,
did they not?
Yeah, they did.
Colorado State. And so mixed results, let's just say. It doesn't really, the place at this point doesn't matter. It's how good a team you got. That's all.
Yeah, exactly. Indiana's last appearance at the Final Four, the path went through Lexington for sure. It was they beat Duke.
And they beat Duke and Kent State, right?
Yes, sir. Down 17 to number 1 Duke with Carlos Boozer, whose 2 sons will be. Man, I'm making myself feel old now. His 2 sons will be playing next season, but looking forward to that. Anything else about the hire stand out to you? I don't know. There's not else other than Chris Beard is where some fans will probably still complain because there's going to be those that don't really like the hire. I never, ever thought that Chris Beard had a shot, and I don't know if he really did. So
I'd say this. DeVries did a good job last year going in the portal. He got Javon Small from Oklahoma State. He was one of the better guards in the Big 12. He got a couple of players from Illinois. Because the hire's being announced on Wednesday, the portal goes full throttle on Monday. He'll be positioned to do well in the portal this year because other coaches will still be coaching their team. And I think that's a big deal. You got a coach who can get a head start on that. And portal roster construction is going to be huge. The questions I would have is, is he going to bring Corey Barnett, former IU walk-on, whose family's well-connected in AAU basketball in Indiana? Will he be on his staff? And West Virginia had a pretty good recruiting class. I think they had 2 4-stars and a 3-star. Are those guys in play to come with him? We probably won't find that out today, but that's the kind of stuff I'm curious about.
yeah, I would be shocked if Barnett is not on his staff.
Right.
He played at IU. He was on an IU.
Right.
He was on the IU team with Jordan Hulls. And you just mentioned the bigger point, the deep ties that his family has on the AAU circuit, not just in Indiana, but all around. That is a huge, huge recruiting tool for that. And Indiana has got to get back to mixing their recruiting. They have not done a great job of that, bringing in the elite talent, as well as not letting the elite talent in its own state get away.
Yeah, and Corey's friends with Jordan Hulls. So I would expect Corey Barnett to be on the staff for sure. Be a wise move to bring him back to Indiana. He's got a lot of experience now. He was with Steve Alford at UCLA. He's got some experience as an assistant coach. I think he'd be a positive addition to the IU staff.
Yeah, he has pretty extensive experience as an assistant, to be honest with you.
Yes, he does.
And then the recruiting aspect just adds to that. Indiana, this is probably the best chance they have to returning to a style, not a style, but a place where they had their fans had used to them being. Where Louisville has been able to fall and climb back to, where Kentucky has been able to fall but climb back to, Indiana's just not been able to make that climb back. And this is probably as good a chance as they've had in quite some time.
Yeah, you just have to have the right coach. We've seen it in a lot of different places, especially at Louisville. And as we've talked about all winter long, Jim, Archie Miller, I think everybody thought he was going to be a home run hire. He wasn't. Didn't get it done. Coaching wise, he definitely didn't get it done in terms of the PR part of it. Mike Woodson didn't get it done in either way. In many ways, made it worse in terms of I think the relationship between the program and the fans with some of the stuff he said. But now it's a new dawn, and we'll see how it goes. I'm going to hand you over to Eric here because I'm going to have to park.
Well, we'll take a quick break while you're parking, Eric, and we'll be back in just 2 minutes. From the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this Wednesday. Appreciate you being with us. Back right after these messages. Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days.
That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue, and you get it for just 0.9% financing, or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles.
Ugly Grouper, located on beautiful Anna Marie in Florida, is the place to be, and not just because they have unforgettable meals, including locally sourced seafood. The Ugly Grouper has your favorite craft beers and cocktails, along with live music every day. The Ugly Grouper is family-friendly, able to host private parties, and has the biggest grouper you've ever seen. The Ugly Grouper is the place to be on Anna Marie Island, Florida. Tell them Indiana Sports Beat sent you. Go to theuglygrouper.com for more information. When it comes to apparel and promotions, Freethink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. Freethink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. Freethink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what Freethink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this Wednesday. Grateful to have Rick Bozich and Eric Crawford along with us today as they head into the pressers down in Lexington, Kentucky, ahead of the NCAA tournament there. Who does Louisville have in their first game?
They got Creighton. That's why we're going to have to wrap it up in about 5 minutes. We want to go in and talk to the Creighton players and Coach Doug McDermott. They got Creighton, and then if they win, they'll most likely play Auburn, the overall top seed in the tournament, on Saturday afternoon.
Some incredible games down there. Who do you have winning it?
I picked Auburn, and I think Eric did too, right?
I think in the end, I did two brackets and I can't remember, but I think I had Florida Duke in my five.
I got Florida, man. It's hard. I like them. I really do. They've just been so good this year. They've handled Auburn twice. So it's going to be I think it's going to be a hell of a tournament. Looking forward to it. Yeah, looking forward to seeing what you guys pull out of there, and we'll look forward to getting your content. Make sure to see that you go to WDRB.com. Always give not only Rick Bozich but Eric Crawford a follow as well. Keep up with the great content both put out covering great college basketball, college sports, and period. What's your last thoughts on this hire before we let you go?
I think it's a very solid hire. I think the guy's a good basketball coach. I'll be interested to see what the reaction is today from the press conference, his personality and stuff. And I think that's the one thing IU needs to work on going forward. I think because of some of the stuff that was said and that was done, a number of fans got a little bit separated from the program. And the one thing I'll say is when there was a little bit of letdown at Louisville that they got Kelsey instead of Drew or Dusty May, Pat Kelsey knocked it out of the park in the press conference with his personality and his message. And the same thing with Mark Pope at Kentucky. A lot of people were disappointed that they didn't get Scott Drew, and then they did go after Hurley and didn't get him. But when they introduced him, they opened Rupp Arena and filled the place, and he dazzled the crowd with the way he spoke. So the PR in terms of how you introduce the coach to the fans is important, and I hope Indiana does something like that to build back the relationship with people who are not happy over what happened the last year with Mike Woodson.
You know, I thought about that very thing, and the introductory press conference is coming in the media room, which tells me that there's not going to be a public welcome like they have in the past. So a little surprising there. I thought that they might do that very thing to throw out some good vibes, but that's not, and that's fine with me. I don't care. But yeah, looking forward to going forward. I cannot thank both of you enough. Eric, great to see you, man. I appreciate you. I know that I'm glad to see you don't have to work so hard today. I'm sure Rick will make you carry his bags, though. That's what Eric says, man. Don't blame me, Rick. I'm just saying.
All right.
Just you kidding, you guys. You guys have a great day and enjoy it. Appreciate you both.
All right. Text me your reactions later on after the presser.
Will do, brother. Thank you so much,
Thanks,
both
Jim.
of you. There's Rick Bozich and Eric Crawford joining us here on the program. Very fortunate to have both of those very, very well-respected sports writers across this country. Louisville is so fortunate. You've got Eric Crawford, you've got Rick Bozich, you got Pat Forty down there, and there have been many others through the years. It's amazing some of the great writers that are in that area, and Indianapolis has had some great ones as well. We've lost one of them. One of them's on the retirement stage, but he'll be with us tomorrow. Bob Kravitz. We'll look forward to seeing what his thoughts are. I would be surprised if he is not out at Simon Scott Assembly Hall for the presser here today, where I will be when we finish up here. It's going to be interesting to see what the total vibe from the fans ends up being. I think once it settles in, they're going to relax and start to let it soak in. I think that, like Rick just said, press conference, how you come across. I remember Archie's press conference. He came over like a dead fish. Go watch his, and if you want to get an idea of what it was like, just go back and look up his presser at, did I delete it? Daggone it. No, I did not. This is not the kind of energy you need to have.
And the proud thing that I am of our first stop at the University of Dayton was we didn't stop. Sometimes you break through and you make the tournament.
Didn't stop what?
From you for a couple years. Sometimes you break through and you continue to go. And I think that is the thing I was most proud of at Dayton, was the consistency that we had, and tremendous support, unbelievable people, great friends. And then I moved to a second spot and had a press conference. And I was popular.
That he doesn't mention.
Only at the
Not
beginning.
really. Because you hadn't lost yet.
Change and transition. It's hard.
And losing.
Now I stand here. Maybe a little bit more flawed. Maybe a little bit more imperfect. Maybe don't.
And not with any more energy. Looking forward to seeing. I like the energetic guys. I like to see guys that it's driving them crazy to lose. I love to watch Patino on the sideline. I love to watch daggone it from UConn, Hurley. I loved watching the 60 Minutes piece on him, because they have these duality personalities, and it's awesome. It is the competitive nature. You have got to be competitive, and I mean, it's got to hurt. To me, when I was competing, or especially when I was competing in rodeo, it hurt so much more to lose than it felt good to win. And that's the kind of coach I would want. Now, one that could handle that, but I want it to hurt more than winning feels good. If that makes sense to you. I think that Indiana has that in his guy. I was just reading some comments that Greg Dermott did make about his former protege, called him a grinder, like Rick said. That's the best. Someone used that term towards me not too long ago, and that was the best compliment I've had in a long time. I consider myself that, a grinder in what I do. But grinder is that's what you want. You want a guy that 4 hours after they lose, man, you're leaving after being there for 2.5 hours after we do our stuff. You still see the coach's vehicle there? Wow. Yeah. That did not happen. That happened one time in the last 4 years. Did I see the coach's vehicle there after the game? Once. And that was this season after the Michigan game. Take that for what you will. But just saying. You hear Signetti talk all the time about, what time he gets up, this, that, and the other thing. Well, why is being a basketball coach that much easier, apparently? Because that was not what was going on the other side of things. Iowa I think that they were really hoping to be able to land DeVries, as they should have been. Now, you expect that they will go after Ben McCollum. And someone, I think, Rick mentioned that he was a little surprised because they were able to get him out of West Virginia after just 1 year. I mentioned that yesterday. It's hard to get coaches that have been someplace for 1 year. Loyalty. I mean, Dusty May felt loyalty to Michigan. They took a shot on him. I don't blame him. Indiana had their chance and did not make the move. You could argue whether they could have or couldn't have. I say that they not only could have, they should have, because of the country club crap that was going on. So, David says Bob Knight had never been to a Final Four when he was hired at Indiana. Well, no, he'd only been a head coach for 6 years, and that was at Army. I don't know that Army has ever been to a Final Four. He's hopefully optimistic about DeVries. He may turn out to be another Signetti for basketball. Well, he's not necessarily a Signetti. He's already had success. You could consider Drake very similar to James Madison, but he went to West Virginia, inherited a last place team, and a team that was picked to finish last in the Big 12. Didn't happen. And if they had to have those injuries, especially the one to his son, and they still should have made the tournament. They did make the tournament. I'm saying they made the tournament. They got screwed out of it, but they made the tournament. They should have been in. They should have been in over North Carolina, over Xavier, over Texas. Man. But like another thing that Todd said earlier, I think that Indiana fans are going to be able to get back to not worrying about whether or not they're in the tournament. What's your seed going to be? Not only that, Mr. DeVries has won a couple of postseason conference tournaments. Indiana fans not familiar with that, having never won the Big Ten tournament and having only made the finals one time. That is shocking. But it has coincided with the start of the tournaments began with the end of Bob Knight, which he was not a fan of the tournament anyway. And I honestly didn't blame him because I think those tournaments are ridiculous. Look at what put Wisconsin through. They played 4 straight days. And you could tell on that 4th day, man, after lighting it up the day before, their shots were short. Who's their great star? He was like 1 for 9 from 3, and he had set a record the day before. They set records the day before. It wears you out. Wears you out. They're not going away, but there's that. I think the hire is as good as it could have been. I don't think that. I think there would have been too much, as much of a small fraction of the, and it's not really small, but of the people that will complain that Chris Beard didn't get hired. I think it would have been bigger had he gotten hired. It would have, a lot of people think that Indiana thinks of themselves as holier than thou, and it's not that. But there's a fine line that you have to walk, that Scott Dolson has to walk. He's responsible for every single coach, every player, in a way. They reflect on Indiana University, which in turn, they reflect on him, which in turn reflects on Indiana University. He knows that. His job is on the line. This hire is the Mount Rushmore hire. Opportunity. It's not a done, but if this turns out to work, Dolson is on the Mount Rushmore, and he's up there in solid position. Maybe Kurt Cignetti will join them. Bob Knight and Branch McCracken. We shall see how it turns out. We're going to take a quick break. Appreciate you having us with you. We'll go over some of these comments. Like Brent, West Virginia fans are angry. The conspiracy is that this deal was made 2 or 3 months ago and that his son Tucker was benched, not because of injury, but to save him from further injury. Oh my, the conspiracy theorists are out. Didn't see that coming. We've got more on the backside from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios right after these messages. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road rye, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive.
If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemoreSells@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today.
Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouthwatering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33, pizza, burgers, beer. Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue. And you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing.
Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles.
Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this Wednesday, a big day for Indiana basketball and Indiana fans, as Darian DeVries has been hired as the Hoosiers' 31st coach in their history. I was thinking about that. I mentioned it earlier. I'm like, wow, that's just, can you imagine just 30 guys sitting in a room? That's all of the coaches ever for Indiana. Crazy. But I think it's a good hire. I think Indiana is going to be fine. I think Indiana fans are going to be happy. Again, look around you. Look at Pat Kelsey. Look at the job he did. He didn't have the experience that Darian DeVries has. I'm not saying one's better than the other. That's not my point. I'm just saying Darian DeVries has had success. Back to back. He was successful at Drake. He goes and takes a very difficult job at West Virginia. West Virginia is not exactly a bastion of basketball, although they have had their runs back in the days. But Indiana is a bastion of basketball. So with a modicum of success anywhere, I expect that to translate. And not just because, but because of what I'm hearing about this guy from the people I know that I've talked to, what I'm hearing about the opinions of him from the people that I've talked to, the fact that he was the last man standing says something. And not the last man standing, but he's the guy that got the job. He's the guy that Scott Dolson, after all the turnkey dealings that they did for him, all the background checks, all the things that went on, that's the guy who Scott Dolson offered, pulled the trigger. Someone mentioned, there was a couple of people that mentioned it may have felt rushed. Yeah, you know what? I think that Scott Dolson was on his game. Now, I do think that his availability changed things when Bubba Cunningham screwed West Virginia and kept them out. And Rick brought up a great point. The fact that he actually now can get ahead of the transfer portal, ahead of the other coaches of whomever it could have, of else it could have been, because they're still coaching and playing. Pretty damn good advantage. But a lot of the great players won't be in the portal yet until after the tournament comes to an end. We're going to have complete coverage of today's festivities. I am going to try to take it live. Not sure how it's going to work from Simon Scott Assembly Hall. It does not always go well inside of that building when you're not hardwired in. But I'm going to try. But we'll have it regardless, one way or the other, afterwards. I do have a live setting up there right now that you can check to see if it's on, it's on, baby. If it'll work, it'll work. Eric says the Ostrom is an interesting journey. Yes, it is. I said it earlier, but I was surprised to see him on DeVries' staff. I didn't really consider him a coach when he was with Archie Miller. He was his #1 assistant, but I did not see him as a coach, recruiter. Maybe he's done more of that. I don't know. I tried to reach out to him yesterday. I haven't heard back. We don't know. I don't know that with the history of Archie Miller and all of that, I think I'm going to be surprised if Tom Ostrom is on the Indiana staff. Not saying it won't happen. I will just be surprised. Just like I would be surprised if Corey Barnett is not on his Indiana staff. Now, Jordan Hulls, if you're worried, wondering, I don't know what role he'll have. I'm very, very confident he will have a role with this staff. Calbert Chaney, I don't know. I mean, I don't know why you would not use another great resource like that in some fashion, as opposed to having consultants. Calbert is the all-time leading scorer in college basketball. Calbert was one of the greatest college basketball players. He knows the game, and he knows the differences in the game, and he knows that it's not the NBA. He is just a valuable resource. Do I think he's going to be an assistant coach? Not necessarily, but a role for him in some fashion. The director of basketball operations, possibility there. I don't know. We'll have to wait and find out. And we will. The waiting wasn't that bad. I told you guys, just chill, relax. It happened a little sooner than I expected as well. But you're on your way. You have to consider that you are on your way to being in a much, much better place. I'm interested to see the roster that ends up getting put together. Aaron says he dramatically said, I can't say it because I don't want that in my head. But instead of saying Indiana University, he said it in reverse once, and he is still living it down. And it was 38 years ago. That was a conversation that got going. Yeah, that's why I didn't even want to say that. I don't ever even want that in my head. I don't think that could ever happen, but boy, you don't take chances. It's going to be interesting to see how Trent Sisley, how quickly he manages to work his way into DeVries' system. He has made great improvements at Montverde, I'm telling you. And don't forget, you get the opportunity, go out and check him out next month at Hamilton Southeastern High School for the Chipotle National Finals, as Montverde and at all others will be up here getting after it. Cheryl Sizemore, for you folks, anybody looking for a home, you want somebody that will work hard for you, that is Cheryl Sizemore. Telling you, I can tell you from personal experience, and I mean that. Cheryl Sizemore sells at gmail.com. She'll get it done. And if you're listening to this show, you're probably you're most likely an IU fan, as is Cheryl, big supporter. And we love her and appreciate her. So that's all of the punching and the banging and the beating up of this right now. I know that there's been a lot of talk, and there's going to be more talk. Brian says that DeVries' contract stipulates a $10,000 fine every time he says hump or wish I knew. Not really, but he says it should. I don't expect, I could see hump working its way in there at some point, but wish I knew. I would not expect to ever hear from a coach again. Cisco. I wonder if that's Jen Cisco. Guards will play for DeVries or Michael. Man, it's going to be fun to watch a college basketball coach a college basketball team. I cannot thank everybody enough. A great time. Like I said, I'm going to try to carry it. Presser Live. You could go to the same page, our YouTube page, and we'll be there. I've got to race out to Simon Scott Assembly Hall myself and check it out. And then tomorrow we're back again to talk about it, hear from the coach and everyone else, including Scott. Wait until Susko says, wait until the press conference. He says it's Darren. Boomers are going to stroke out. Darren DeVries. Oh, yes. Instead of DeVries, Darren DeVries, like it's French. Appreciate you guys. Back tomorrow to do it all again. And maybe this afternoon too. Until then, I'm Jim Coyle. You know where I'll see you. On the radio. Go out and have yourselves a great day.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.